Hello, my amazing artists. Today we are going to be focusing on one of the most important parts of art, and that is the elements of art. There are 7 of them, and you can take a look at this packet that was in your art envelope at all 7 of these very important concepts. They are like the ingredients to our art soup. Today we are going to be focusing on these 7 elements and creating a work of art that incorporates all of them together. Let's take a look at the materials you're going to need today. Of course, you're going to need your Elements of Art packet to reference and refer to all of these different elements that you have learned over the years in art. You're going to need a piece of drawing paper. It may have your name, class number stamp on the back. You'll need a ruler, eraser, colored pencils, and a pencil. And you'll probably want a sharpener as we are using colored pencils today. Last thing you'll need is maybe a black marker. You can use a permanent marker or just a regular black marker. If you don't have either of those things, you can always just use a black colored pencil as well. You'll probably have one of those things. So the first thing that we are going to do is split our paper into the 7 different sections. So we've got small triangles, big triangles, and a diamond in the center. Take your ruler and pencil, and we are going to mark out a dimension on your paper. On the bottom, you're going to want to take your ruler and find the centimeter side. They're normally the red numbers. Line up the 0 at the very end of your paper on the left, and then take your pencil and find 15. Make sure it's all the way down at the bottom of your paper. Okay, so 15 right there. Then we're going to take and do the same thing at the top of our paper. So we've marked 15 cm here at the bottom, and we're also going to mark 15 cm at the top. Okay, now that I have 15 marked here and here, I'm now going to start connecting the corners of my paper to these different dots to create those diagonal triangles. So take your ruler, meet it up at the corner of your paper, and take the other edge of your ruler and meet it up at the dot at the top. Then I would like you to draw light. Make sure we're drawing light because some of these parts of these lines we will erase. Take your ruler and let's go to another corner. We're always drawing diagonal lines from corner to dot. So ruler on the corner, ruler on the dot, and connect those 2 areas. We're going to do the same for these top corners as well, but instead we're going to use this bottom dot. I've now gone ahead and drawn all of my lines that divide my paper into 7 different sections. Now, to remind myself that these are the elements of art, I'm going to go ahead and write the word art in the center. I want to explore some different fonts or different ways of writing, and you are free to do it however you'd like. On my first one that I did, I made mine look kind of bold, like they were 3D. I'm going to teach you how to do something similar to this as well. I always start whenever I do 3D letters by first sketching lightly the word, just as if I were writing it on a page. Yep, just the letters, basic letters. Now what I can do is I can go around the outside of my letters to make them 3D. Let me draw a little darker so you can make sure and see on the video as I am using pencil, but I want to remind you, draw light until you know it's right. So I can bold these by drawing along the edge. Okay, boys and girls, I have bolded my letters, so that means that now I can go ahead and erase whatever is inside of those letters. Last thing I'm going to do is I am going to add a little perspective to my letters by creating the side to them. So wherever there is a side, I will fill that in. Now that I have bolded my letters, the next thing that I want to do is make them 3D by adding some sides using the techniques of perspective that I learned last year. One way that I can do that is I can create an imaginary dot and use my ruler along with finding the points on the outside of my letters to connect to that dot. So I think what I'm going to do is place my dot out over here. So I can take my ruler, connect it to the dot, connect it to a point on the edge of my letter, and draw out towards that dot, creating thick sides to my letters. Then I connect those lines to create that 3D side to my letter. I can go through each of my letters to create those 3D edges. Now that I've bolded the edge of all my letters, the next thing that I'm going to do is take my permanent marker and outline both the edges of my letters as well as the lines. One thing to be careful though is when you are doing your lines, you want to remember that the line should not go through the letter. So if I take my permanent marker or any marker or black writing utensil, when you get to the letter, stop and jump over your letter. One thing that can help with this is to first outline your letters first before the lines. One thing I do once I'm finished that I expect everyone to do as well at home is to take an eraser and make sure to erase all your pencil lines. All we want to see is your black outlines. Now that I have my letters and sections all outlined, it's up to me to decide which section I would like to be which element. One thing I'll show you is that I did decide to do the center diamond as the one representing color because I was able to split it into lots of sections to illustrate the different colors along our color wheel. But it is completely up to you which section you would like to choose for different ones. Let's see if we can look and see which triangle represents which element of art on mine. How about this one down here? If you guessed form, you're correct. This one should be an easy one. Yep, line. This one? This one is shape. This one I just mentioned to you as color, but how about this one? It looks pretty prickly. Yep, it's texture. This one down here? This one is space, because things look further in the distance than they do up close. Lastly, this one, it's value, because the change in the lightness or darkness of a color is value. So boys and girls, your job now is to go ahead and illustrate in your different triangles your way of representing the different elements of art. You can do it however makes sense to you. No need to copy mine, but if you're a little stumped on what to do, feel free to refer back to this example. Now, there are 3 things that I'm expecting of you when you are drawing and coloring in the different triangles. The first one is that I would love for you to make sure that when you are coloring, there is no white paper showing unless it is down here on your gradient for your value. The second thing is that I should be able to look at your triangle and say without a doubt, this one is line, this one is shape, this one is texture. Now you can put them in any triangle you want, so like this one down here could be texture if you like it. But that is the second thing. I should be able to tell which element of art you've used in different sections. The third one, boys and girls, is that I would love it so much if you could try your best to incorporate value wherever you can. So for example, I have incorporated a little bit of value changes on my cactus. Some value especially on my forms. In fact, boys and girls, one of the ways that we can accentuate our forms and the 3D appearance of them is by using value. So let me take you through how we can use our color pencils to color everything in nicely as well as incorporate value. The way I'm going to show you that is through creating the gradient for my value. You can use any color you want, and boys and girls, if you'd like to communicate value in a different way than how I have, please feel free. I'm going to go ahead and use orange, and when I color, I like to color in 3 directions. So color on a diagonal. Now look how I can see my colored pencil lines. I want to color up and down. Okay, I can see less of my colored pencil lines, and also side to side. Now you can also rotate your paper so that you're coloring in different ways that way. But also, boys and girls, take a look at how I'm holding my pencil. I have it nestled in my hand so that I can use the side of the tip of my colored pencil. This helps me use more surface area of my colored pencil and also saves me time. So boys and girls, the key to coloring to make sure that your paper gets covered is to color in 3 directions, but also with that is to add layers. So color lightly, then go back on top and color again, especially for those dark areas. This is how I create my subtle gradation of value, is by coloring light, then coloring again on top of it a little harder, then again on top of it even harder, and I even added some black colored pencil here. So boys and girls, I'm expecting that you use your colored pencils to add some value wherever it is that you can. So I will leave up to you to finish the drawing and coloring of all 7 sections to illustrate the elements of art that are so important to everything we do here in art class.